Here we are. You're a conservative rabbi.
I am.
I'm an evangelical pastor.
Thank you for coming up to New York to see me.
Yeah, and we're in this historic synagogue here. So what are we doing here?
Well, you wanted to talk about the Torah. So.
Within Christianity, especially evangelical variety of that, we try to synthesize and systematize, and we read kind of what we call a meta-narrative through Scripture and through our theology. It seems that that's not even attempted or is that attempted in Judaism? What does Jewish theology look like that?
Yeah. So I would say we have tended to have an emphasis on practice, and that the deeds are commonly held, and that the feelings about the deeds, the things that you bring to it, there's more room for idiosyncrasy. So we have tended not to systematize too terribly much. We have what we call halacha, which is the law, and then agadah, which is the lore that surrounds the law. I like to think of it as halacha is life lived, what you do, and agadah is life reflected upon, okay? What you think about it, what you feel about it, what it means. And in agadah, the standard is that you're free to disagree with each other. You're even free to disagree with yourself, right? You're free to say, this is how it is today, and this is how it is tomorrow.
Yeah. Like when I think about what evangelicals, the priority of what we're aiming for, it's really an internal change. Like it's faith that we would even say the Spirit of God gives you and then changes you from the inside out, that we're changed by grace and love in a personal relationship with God that then is supposed to, though, true faith is supposed to lead to good works. And it's the relationship between a tree and the fruit that it bears. But it's not necessarily immediately evident or always there. And historically, or at least recently, evangelicals have oftentimes emphasized faith almost to a fault. You keep mentioning how Judaism is fundamentally about practice. How do you think those practices, like, one, what are the major categories of practices, and how do those practices, how do you see those shaping life and who you are as a people, identity, community?
You know, in the same way that you said, for evangelicals, the emphasis is interior, and you hope that it changes. You hope that it changes. The person produces works and produces behavior, like a seed and a tree.
Yeah.
I would say that, and perhaps you were implying, maybe I missed this, but perhaps you're implying that, you know, it doesn't necessarily work every single time. Sometimes people can have good interior feelings and did not produce the fruit. I would say that with Judaism, the classical emphasis is behavior, with a similar idea that it shapes a religious personality, that it shapes who you are, in the same way that, you know, as an example, if you exercise a bunch, you're going to be in better shape, right? Yeah. Maimonides, I mentioned Maimonides. He was a rabbi in the 12th century, lived most of his life in Egypt, and he asked the following question: is it better to give $1,000 in charity to a person, or is it better to give $1 a day for 1,000 consecutive days? It's the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And he concludes that the answer is better to give $1 a day for 1,000 consecutive days, because it will train you in generosity. You'll be a person who didn't do a good thing one time and then went back to who you were. Day after day after day after day, it trains you in generosity.